think that's actually higher praise that I actually managed to enjoy this book while being horrifically unwell. Sometimes you've just got to go screw it. I loved it. I know it's not perfect, but I loved it, therefore 5 stars. These are my ultimate comfort books. Hello bookworms and welcome back to my channel. It's been a while. It's been, what, 2 months maybe? I think the last video I made was about the long list for the Women's Prize for Fiction, which has now been shortlisted, and I think it's being announced in like a week, so I mean, where did all the time go? If I'm completely honest, I was struggling a little bit with the monthly wrap-up videos that I was doing because it was talking about every single book that I read. I think I just read too much, like, that sounds like a brag. I'm not bragging. I was trying to do in-depth reviews for all of them, and when you're reading like sort of 12, 13, 14, 15 books a month, that gets really difficult, and they were just long to film, they were long to edit, and I wasn't really enjoying it because it got to the point where like I couldn't really remember, like if I was filming at the beginning of the month, I couldn't really remember the books I'd read at the beginning of the previous month. So anyway, God, I'm rambling. I've decided that I'm probably gonna do like, not monthly, but like every couple of months I'll just talk about some of my favourites or some of like the highlights, I guess, which is kind of what this video is gonna be. If you do want to know every single book that I read, then I still talk about every single book over on my TikTok. I do like fortnightly wrap-ups, but it's like shorter. It's easier for me, it's less editing, it's less time, it's less stress. I can also remember better because I do it fortnightly rather than every month. And there's also the fact that I've just been busy, work's been pretty hectic. I'm also moving, like I am literally moving across the country, so I've been doing a lot of trips up north, like on my free days. This intro has been like 10 minutes long, I've just been rambling, so let's stop this now. I thought I would talk about the Women's Prize for Fiction first because obviously that was the last video that I made. I said in that video that I was going to talk about my thoughts of Great Circle because at that point that was the only book in the long list that I had read. Since then I have read I've read one other and DNF'd another one. Quick fire thoughts on Great Circle. Overall I really enjoyed it. I thought it was beautifully written and it is a great story about women with ambition. My only criticism of it was that it was almost too detailed at the beginning, which meant that it took a while to really get into it because there was just so much, so much detail, because it basically explores Marianne's, like, is her name Marianne? I can't even remember, I think it's Marianne, but it explores her entire life from like before she was born. So it goes into a lot of detail, which means it's very long. But apart from that, I loved it and highly recommend, and I think it was shortlisted. Let me just double check. Yes, it was shortlisted. Speaking of the shortlist, I've also read The Island of Missing Trees by Elif Shafak. Another beautiful one. I think I'm leaning more towards that one winning out of the 2 that I've read so far. Again, beautifully written, you know, just stunning prose. A really interesting concept with the whole partly narrated by a tree, and also shining a light on something that I didn't actually know much about, which was the conflict in Cyprus. But to be honest, I would be happy if either of those 2 books won. I would like to read the Book of Form and Emptiness, which I do own. I would like to read that before the winner gets announced, which, I mean, it probably won't happen because I feel like the winner's going to be announced in like a week, but that is a book that is on my physical TBR that I would like to read soon. The other book that I read from the long list, or attempted to read from the long list, was The Exhibitionist by, I can't remember, it looks like this. I DNF'd this. Really not for me, just didn't enjoy it. Too many names, too many characters, very much like a family drama book, and I do enjoy the occasional family drama book, but just, I didn't like this one. That is my update with the Women's Prize. Next I want to talk about some of the books I've been loving over the past couple of months. So these are some of the books that I've loved through April and May. They're mainly 4.5 5-star reads. Firstly, I want to talk about a book that completely took me by surprise. I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did, and I read it when I had COVID. So I think that's actually higher praise that I actually managed to enjoy this book while being horrifically unwell. And It Only Happens in the Movies by Holly Bourne. So this is a YA contemporary, and I would say it's for like older readers, so probably 16 plus. Audrey doesn't believe in romance, she doesn't believe in happily ever after because of the experience that she's had with her parents. Basically her dad walked out on the family and started a new family with a new woman, and has basically abandoned them and left their family and also their mother in like horrifically bad like mental health state, and she's also had a bad experience with her like first boyfriend. So she's very pessimistic when it comes to romance. And then she starts a new job in her local fancy cinema. So think, if you live in Birmingham, like the Electric, so like an independent cinema, or what's like a chain, the Everyman. So yeah, she works at this really posh cinema where she meets Harry, who is your stereotype bad boy, like bad news, you don't want to go near him because he's just gonna break your heart. I loved this. I think it broke a lot of the like tropes of a YA romance or a YA contemporary. I wouldn't really call this a romance, but it is categorized as a romance. There's a lot of like commentary on rom-coms, especially like movie rom-coms, but I guess that could also be applied to book rom-coms. It's hilarious. I was fully laughing out loud reading this, and as I said, I had COVID at the time, so I loved the ending. I thought it was really daring for her to go for that angle. If you are a bit of a pessimist, like me, or you sort of like messy relationships, like messy feelings, and reading about those kind of relationships, then definitely pick this up. Although it's a little heavier than some YAs, as I say, it's for older readers, and like check content before going into it, especially if you are younger. But yeah, I loved it. I really loved it. The next book that I absolutely loved was The Gifts That Bind Us by Caroline O'Donoghue. This is the sequel to All Our Hidden Gifts, which is somewhere in this pile. There it is. I'm not gonna get it out. The cover looks like this. I read that last year. Absolutely fell in love with it. It's a witchy YA urban fantasy thriller, and this is a sequel, and it picks up sort of at the end of the summer after the events of the first book. This series, these characters, I love them. There's every single character in this book I love. I am 100% rooting for. I am scared for them. I just want to give them all a big cuddle and tell them that it's all gonna be alright. There's a lot of queer characters in this book as well. So yeah, this is right up my street. If you love like tarot, witchy vibes, queer characters, just pick it up. Again though, check content warnings, trigger warnings, because this does have a very homophobic and transphobic hate group as the main like antagonist, so just be aware of that. But loved it. This series is great, and I can't wait for the final book. So this next book, I was actually sent the proof because I worked with the publishers on a campaign, and with this book they actually had 2 proofs because the book is about twins, so they had a proof for each twin, and I'd seen that people had been sent one or the other. I got sent both, which I was thrilled about because, I mean, look how beautiful they are together. Look at their spines. And then that's the front. Honestly, these are the most beautiful proof copies I've ever seen. Then I read the book. Even more stunning. Again, it's witchy, it's YA, it's fantasy. We're seeing a theme here. I had so much fun working on this campaign. I did 3 TikTok videos. I loved this book so much that I actually bought myself a finished copy. You might have seen that Waterstones did 2 versions of this book. They did a Wren version and a Rose version with straight edges. I went for the Wren because I loved Wren. I loved them both, but Wren has my heart. Was I tempted to get both edges? Yes, I was, but I already own both beautiful proofs, so I couldn't really justify also owning both editions. I was very tempted, made the adult decision, especially as I'm moving house, so I really should be downsizing when it comes to the amount of books I own. I just blasted through it like it was one of those books, and I haven't done this in such a long time, but it was one of those books where I had no idea what page I was on. I had no idea how far it was to the end because I was just so immersed, and before I knew it, I'd finished it and I was like, I need more, which is good because there's going to be a second book. Also, the authors are so sweet. They're best friends in real life. It's written by two authors, Catherine Doyle and Catherine Weber. But yeah, both of them are the loveliest people, and they were commenting on all of my posts and just being lovely people. So yeah, we love that. I know I made a joke that there was a theme But we have another YA fantasy. She's nothing if not predictable. This is A Far Wilder Magic by Alison Saft, and again, YA fantasy. This is like DPD outside. It's okay, they've gone. Anyway, what was I saying? It is about a magical hunt that's very prestigious and that happens every year, and it is hunting the Halla, which is this fox thing, which has like religious connotations. There's a lot of like religious themes in this book. It's alluded to that the religions are Judaism and Catholicism, but obviously they're not called that in this book. The Halla is like this really dangerous animal, so it causes a lot of devastation when it comes to like crops and livestock and people. It does attack people, so that's kind of why it is widely hated and hunted. And if you win the hunt, you become rich and famous, and you also have access to the Halla, which is this magical creature, so you have access to magical secrets. This was one of those books where, critically speaking, so if I was going to be analytical and critical when talking about this book, it's not perfect. I probably wouldn't have rated it 5 stars, but my enjoyment of the book was 5 stars. So this was one of those times where I went with my heart over my head and went, you know what, this is a 5-star read because I bloody loved it and I had a lovely time reading it, even though there were some like structural issues and some unanswered questions. Sometimes you've just got to go screw it. I loved it. I know it's not perfect, but I loved it, therefore 5 stars. This was not only a great fantasy, but it had a lovely romance side plot, and it was a slow burn, like really slow burn, and I love a really slow burn romance. It was Grumpy Sunshine, which I love, and the vibes were immaculate. Also, this cover is just stunning. Oh, I love it. Okay, these last two aren't YA fantasies. The Beloved Girls by Harriet Evans, which, oh, I don't even know how I'd categorise this book. It is a mystery, historical fiction, literary fiction, because it's set in 2018, in 1989, and in 1959? 1959, yeah. So it's set in 3 different time periods. The majority of the book takes place in the 80s, and it's about this family. They're like a very prestigious family, they're very well known, and they do this ritual every year. It's kind of a little bit cultish, I won't lie. There's a lot of mystery around this family and around this ceremony. That's all I want to say. I feel like it's a very mysterious book, and I don't want to say too much and give it away. It's very dark. Definitely look up content warnings. This is one of those books that is totally vibes over plot, all about atmosphere, and it's very slow paced, but if you love that kind of book like I do, then I think you will enjoy this. However, if you love a structured, very plot heavy book, then this is not going to be for you. But also, this is just a really great like summer read. I'd actually say pick this up in like late August. It's quite a end of summer book, I would say. And I was also very kindly sent this by the publishers, so thank you very much to them for sending this to me because I really enjoyed it. And finally, we have Mad About You by Vari McFarlane. If you've been around for a while, you'll know that I love Vari McFarlane. I love her writing style, I love her characters, and I love how she tends to divert expectations when it comes to like the rom-com genre. She's almost gone a little bit too far with this book, and that's not a fault of her, that's a fault of the marketing of this book, because you look at this book, you look at the cover, you look at the title, you read the blurb, and all of it screams rom-com. Like, I'll read the blurb. Harriet Haley is running away from everything, getting married, her boyfriend's family, her past. A dream house share seems like the perfect place to hide, but her unlikely housemate Carl is no stranger to running away himself, and he's also hiding secrets of his own. Can these two take a crazy risk, face the past, and finally find a reason to stay? It screams rom-com. It's not a rom-com. Cal, did I call him Carl? I think I did. Cal, who would be considered the romantic interest, is a very small part of this book. He's hardly in it. Well, that's the main thing that sort of makes it not really a rom-com, is the fact that Cal is not really in it. The front bit says, 2 strangers, one big coincidence, driving each other crazy is just the beginning. It makes it sound like it's going to be this like close proximity, enemies to lovers type rom-com. It's not that. They don't have any sort of conflict, which is, I don't understand why it has that thing of like driving each other crazy, because as I say, there's not really any conflict between the two of them. He's hardly in it. This story is about trauma and abusive relationships and healing and female solidarity. Again, one to definitely check content warnings before going into it, because as I say, it does deal with abusive relationships. I get the title, I get why it's called Mad About You, because it's like subverting expectations. You think it's going to be like, oh, I'm mad about him, but actually it's I'm mad about him. I think that so many people are going to go into this book thinking that it is a roommate romance, and it's not. It's really not. I also think that Valerie McFarlane would be way more popular as an author if her books were advertised properly for what they are, which is, I mean, they're technically, I don't know, I would call this like literary fiction, and I don't really understand why none of her books are ever like nominated for the Women's Prize, because it definitely is, I would say, like, has the right qualifications to be in the Women's Prize. This was brilliant. I didn't enjoy it as much as her book from last year, which was Last Night, because I absolutely freaking love that book, and it's the reason I fell in love with her as an author. Another one that's completely and utterly missold. But yeah, this one, I just want it to be known that it's really, really missold. And I wouldn't want anybody to go into this thinking that it's a rom-com and being disappointed, or people not picking it up because they think it's a rom-com and missing out on a brilliant book. Although I will say, very, very hard to read at times, very uncomfortable, very tense. So again, I think I've already said this, but check content warnings. If you take anything from this section of the video, it is please check out Valerie McFarlane as an author. I haven't read all of her books, I haven't read a lot of her like earlier work, but like her new books, especially Last Night. Freaking love. A TV favourite that I have been loving recently, which probably will come as no surprise to anyone, is Heartstopper. If you don't already know about Heartstopper, it's a graphic novel series that is sort of a spin-off slash prequel to Alice Oseman's debut novel Solitaire, with two of the side characters, Charlie Spring, who is Tori Spring's brother, Tori Spring being the main character of Solitaire, and Nick Nelson. Oh, something fell out. And it's their story. These are my ultimate comfort books. This series has been picked up by Netflix and made into a TV show, and it has been announced that it's been renewed for 2 more series. I think that's all we're gonna get. I think they are going to adapt season 2 and 3 into like the remaining novels. But yeah, I had to get myself a copy of the TV tie-in. The whole cast is perfect casting. That's what happens when you get the actual writer involved in the casting process. These two are just perfect. The series is perfect. I binged it, and then I watched it again, and then I watched it again. And to be honest with you, I'm probably just going to continuously watch this for the rest of my life, because nothing makes me happier and nothing brings me more joy than these two lovely boys right here. Just the whole gang in general. I love that, the whole queer utopia that is Heartstopper. All of Alice Oseman's work, so all of the Heartstoppers, all of her novels, completely sold out. Like literally, the show aired and within a week, all of their work was completely out of stock everywhere, including this, because I didn't pre-order or anything, because I was like, I'll just pick it up when it's in store. A month I had to wait for this to be in stock. Finally, I want to talk about the Hay Festival. So if you haven't heard of the Hay Festival, it's a literary festival that happens every year in a place called Hay-on-Wye, which is on the border of England and Wales, sort of near Hereford. And it's this little village in Wales that is completely and utterly dedicated to books. There are so many bookshops there, and there's literally signs everywhere saying that it's like the world's first book town. And yeah, each year the Hay Festival happens there, which is probably one of the world's biggest literary festival. The Hay Festival also has like sister festivals all over the like world, basically. So I highly recommend that you check out the Hay Festival and see like if there's one going on near where you are. It's an event that happens over like, I think 10 days, so like 2 weeks. And I have never been before. I knew that it happened, and I've always wanted to go. I'm just not organised enough to organise actually like staying there and doing it like a festival. There was a bank holiday, and if you're not from the UK, basically our queen had a jubilee, so we had like an extra long weekend. I was off work on the Thursday and decided to just do a day trip and check it out. And I went with my dad and I had the best day. I freaking loved it. I highly recommend either doing a day trip or camping out and doing a couple of days, or just doing the full 2 weeks. Go for it, live your life. Basically how the Hay Festival works is there are like talks and events and stuff. Some you have to pre-book and pay for. Like the actual event itself to go into is free, you don't have to pay. But to go to a lot of the talks you have to pre-book, and obviously they do sell out, or they can sell out if you don't, pre-book. There's also like theatre events and all sorts. So before we went, we pre-booked to see the Jonathan Bate talk, him talking about his new book, Mad About Shakespeare. If you don't know who Jonathan Bate is, he is a world famous Shakespeare scholar. And then we also booked to see a production of As You Like It in the evening. So those are two things that we had pre-booked, and then the rest of the day was just spent looking at the different stalls, going to the shops. There's some free events that we also went to. Thought I'd do a little haul, and while I did the haul I'll talk you through the day. We got there quite early and we had a look around, and I would definitely recommend getting there early if you want to do like the bookshops and stuff before the crowds arrive. I would say we got there at about 10 o'clock, maybe earlier than that actually, maybe 9:30, because our first event was at 11:30, so me and my dad are very, we like to get places early. We had a wander around, it was quite quiet. We sat down and had a coffee. We'll say food and drink is very expensive, but that's to be expected in a place like that because it's catchment, isn't it? We then headed over to the venue to listen to Jonathan Bate, and honestly, so inspiring. I love Shakespeare, coming from like an acting background. I just love Shakespeare. That was a really inspiring talk, and then I went and bought his book afterwards. I didn't get it signed, unfortunately. I did walk past him after the event, but he was talking to someone. I didn't want to interrupt, but also I hadn't bought the book at that point, so I couldn't have got it signed even if I wanted to. I bought the book. I have started reading it. I'm a couple of chapters in. It's like part memoir, part exploration of Shakespeare and mental health, which are two things that are very close to my heart. It's also making me very excited to start university, I won't lie. Once the talk had finished, we decided to go back to the bookshops and basically pick up the books that we had seen earlier but didn't want to carry around because books are heavy. So as I say, we went to the bookshop and picked up Jonathan Bate's book, and as I say, at that point it had gotten busy, and it was probably around 12:30, 1 o'clock at that point. So yeah, it had gotten busy. But they also had a Oxfam secondhand bookshop in the festival, which we had been to before the talk, and my dad had spotted a book that he wanted to get me. So we went back there and he bought me this, which is Yorkshire, A Lyrical History of England's Greatest County by Richard Morris. And the reason he got me this is because I am moving to Yorkshire for university. I do have a lot of descendants from Yorkshire, so I do definitely feel at home in Yorkshire, so I'm quite excited to read this. And there's also a Hay Festival gift shop, and I picked up this button badge that says Hay Festival Dreamer. They had loads of different ones. They had reader, writer, yeah, they had lots of different Hay Festival with different words, and yeah, I picked up Dreamer because I'm a dreamer. We then had lunch, which was delicious but a bit expensive, I won't lie. And then we went over to the Marquee, which is where a lot of the free events were, and we sort of caught the end of the book talk, which was nice to listen to. It was nice to sort of hear the love about, where my page started really. It started as a book talk account. Anyway, while that was happening, they came around and were handing out these. This is a TikTok and Hay on Why tote bag. Every reader loves a tote bag, so was very excited to be given this. There was also a bookmark, and I got quite a few bookmarks, I won't lie. There was lots of free bookmarks, so I came home with 5 bookmarks. We also listened to a live recording of the Shakespeare & Co podcast at the Marquee, and then at that point in the day we got to the point where we'd sort of exhausted everything that could be seen within the festival itself, because as I say, a lot of the talks you have to book, and we'd already seen the one that we'd booked for. We'd done the shops, we'd done the stalls, so we decided to go into the town itself and have a look around all of the different bookshops, because obviously we had quite a lot of time to kill before the evening performance, that we were going to see at Hay Castle. We went around all of the different bookshops, and the final bookshop that we went to, because it was the one that was open latest, was the cinema bookshop. And while I was there, I found this, which is the RSC's collection of William Shakespeare collaboration plays, which is really interesting. Lo and behold, one of the editors was Jonathan Bate, which is obviously the person that we went to the Dork Off. I picked up this. It's very heavy, I won't lie, but one that is definitely going to be useful for my university studies because I'm going to study theatre. Did you hear the noise it made? Heavy. And then finally, we headed to Hay Castle to watch a production of As You Like It by the Lord Chamberlain's Men, which is apparently according to the programme, the UK's premier all-male theatre company. So if you don't know, in Elizabethan times, when Shakespeare was writing and putting on plays, women weren't allowed on stage. So all of the actors were male. So all of the parts were played by male actors. So this was kind of a very traditional way to perform Shakespeare. It was very good, it was very enjoyable, it was open air, in the backdrop of Hay Castle, so very atmospheric, very cold, I won't lie, I feel the cold. So it'd been a lovely warm day, and then when the sun went down it was quite cold. But I love a Shakespeare comedy, and I think that the company, they did it well. It was very enjoyable, and just a perfect way to end the day. A very bard themed day. Highly recommend the Hay Festival. I had literally the best day. I really want to go again next year. Whether that will happen, I don't know, because where I currently live, Hay is not that far away. I'm going to be in Yorkshire, which is a little bit further, so I'm probably going to have to do the festival experience and camp out. But how I'm going to get there, I've got no idea, because I don't drive, and there is literally no public transport to Hay. But I'll figure it out, because I really want to go again. That was my day at the Hay. I feel like this is a very long video. I have been talking for a while. That's what I've been up to recently. Those are some of my favourite books that I've read recently. Although I do feel like I have had a very exciting life for the past 2 months. My life doesn't usually look like that. It was so exciting that I had to leave stuff out. I haven't even told you about it all. Like, I went to see My Chemical Romance. That was really fun. Although I think I'm getting a little bit too old for metal concerts, won't lie. But yeah, I did that for my birthday. Oh yeah, it was my birthday. I turned 24. It's fine. Age is but a number. I missed you guys. I really like chatty, rambly YouTube videos. Let me know what your favourite book has been recently. Give me a reading update in the comments. I've forgotten how to end these. If you haven't already, click subscribe, because I'm very close to 150 subscribers, which is very cute. Thank you so much if you have subscribed already. And also, I am really close to 9,000 followers over on TikTok. When the frick did that happen? Wait, what's going on? Thank you. Oh my god. That's literally all I can say is thank you. I'm overwhelmed. I can't believe it. Oh, I forgot to say, do you like the background? Do you like this background? Because I can't film on my other background anymore because it's a mess. Office is a mess. Piles of books everywhere. I'm moving house. Help. Do you like this new background? Let me know. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And yeah, that's all I've got to say. Thanks for watching and happy reading.